Hey, madam. All right, what language is that in for Hello World?
I don't know.
It didn't sound like what I thought it was going to sound like.
Well, it starts with hey, so it definitely
Hey,
definitely
buddy.
sounds more casual.
It's spelled Hej, how they spell hey. That's your secret.
Romaine.
Romania? No, I almost did Romania.
Ukraine?
No, not Ukraine either. It is Swedish.
Oh.
So, hello world. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Help Me YPN, is the podcast that the Miami Young Professionals put on along with some of our global international partners. We have a completely local crew with us here today, and we're going to be talking all about the elimination of property taxes. So, our governor, Ron DeSantis, has talked about eliminating property taxes for the entire state of Florida. Wow. So, to start off, let's talk about it. Do you think this is a good or a bad idea?
It's a good idea for buyers. We are in a market that nothing is not moving like before, so I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think that I don't think it's a great idea, but I think that it's a little seed that we're planting to maybe improve either our tax rate or affordability, right? Overall. So it's a start. It's at least a conversation starter.
It's a great political move, I think. I don't know. We can see a political side on that.
Sure.
move.
Tax cuts have backfired in the past, but it's not who's to say that's going to happen here. What are your thoughts?
I feel that it's going to help millennials buy. There's definitely been a gap where there's a lot of people haven't been able to purchase because of taxes and their payment. So it's going to give an opportunity. And I think out of each situation that is happening, we need to find the positive side of it, right? And one of the positive sides that I am going to focus on is there will be a lot of more people that will be able to purchase. I mean, taxes 1.5%. We're buying a house here in Southwest for 1.5 million. It's substantial in your payment. So it will give affordability. I mean, it's definitely going to have its pros and cons, just like everything in life. But I think I'm going to focus on the positive side.
So yeah, let's focus on that. I'm going to be on the negative side here, and this is the fun of the podcast, really. So everybody's saying great affordability, but I think we've been down this road before, guys, have we not? With lower interest rates, does entering more buyers into the pool actually make it more affordable, or does it make it less affordable because of the competition? Go ahead and answer that question for me. Kayla, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Before jumping on to that,
Please,
perspective
go
that
ahead.
you have, what I wanted to highlight is people fail to realize what property tax are used for. Those funds are allocated to the county. So it goes to the schools. It also funds the police department, and it funds fire rescue. So if property taxes is eliminated, then what happened to those different institutions?
So his proposal, and I could be wrong, right? But from my understanding, his proposal is to eliminate property taxes and increase sales tax in South Florida. Our sales tax right now is at 6%, some counties 7.5%. But this all always circles back to affordability. Yes, you eliminate property taxes for property owners, but sales tax goes for everybody and for everything that you buy. So for not just tourists, which is what he's saying, we can take advantage of, is the tourists, and if anything that they pay or any service that they're getting, we're going to get as funds towards our county, towards our city and our funding from these tourists that they're not giving us now. But it's also going to go to the mom and pop places, when you go to buy a gallon of milk or your eggs, school supplies, whatever it may be. Now you're, instead of paying 7% tax on that, you're going to be paying what? Double? I mean, he hasn't said a number, but then these things become more expensive.
Which increases cost of living, and it's already expensive.
And it's already expensive.
Inflation is a big problem right now. So that will be increasing all the cost of living, like you say, Kayla. I don't know. Yeah.
And going back to it, Kevin, you were saying, has somebody proposed this before? And somebody has, and it was rejected. So it's not the first time somebody brings it up and says, let's try this. No other state has been able to test this theory, but I don't think that eliminating it and increasing our sales tax is going to help.
I will add this, and this is just my line of reasoning here. If this were to pass, I think it's all the more reason for you to do your best to get people into the market as first-time home buyers, because if you never own a home now, essentially you're going to be paying more than you did before than without any of the benefits, which I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, people that are not buying a home are now going to be paying more in sales taxes, and they don't get the benefits of not owning a property. So all the more reason for us to get those first-time home buyers through the finish line and everything else. What are some of the things that you think it'll do to the market besides maybe a few more buyers? Do you think it's going to have a good or a bad effect on the market? Does anybody want to?
I think, like you say, when you decrease something, the other side increase. So the price is going to increase, like a mortgage rate. If you
At least
lower
what
the
you can
mortgage
afford.
rate, the price is going to increase because more buyers come to buy properties. Demand and offer and demand. So it's like that. So I think can be beneficial for the market to move up, but not beneficial for buyers because the price is going to be
Interesting.
increase.
And I don't know if you've ever had this situation with your first-time home buyers, and you mentioned millennials, right? I think that they look at every single dollar. When they're buying their first property, they're going to property appraiser's office, and if they have two of the same houses on the same block, and house A has taxes for $2,500, but house B has taxes for $6,500, and it's the same house, they're like, I'm going with house A. But a lot of agents don't inform their buyer that, yes, you're gonna, take advantage of that the first year, but and then the second year, it's still gonna be assessed at the purchase price that you got it for.
And the jump
so-
is bigger. Because
And the jump gets even bigger. And then if an agent or mortgage broker or, anybody didn't disclose this to them, then that following year, they are hurting. Their monthly price just skyrocketed, and they're like, whoa, now I can't afford this house. What do I do?
yeah.
That's why I always have that candid conversation with them. Just yesterday, I was at a showing with a buyer, a first-time home buyer, and he was looking at the property taxes, and I did remind him that, hey, this is not what it's going to be because next year it's going to increase because it does get reassessed annually. So I always tell my buyers that your mortgage is not because of the escrow, and we know that homeowners insurance and property taxes increase yearly. So I tell them to prepare for that and have a reserve on the side because it's going to go up. And I always help them with filing their homestead. Very, very important.
And that's another proposal that they've brought up is that they want to increase our homestead from $25,000 to $75,000. So I think that's going to be more beneficial than maybe eliminating property taxes. Maybe do a little bit of both, reduce our tax rate, not eliminate it, but just reduce it
I like that idea.
to something that's more affordable. Because I know there was an article from Redfin, I believe, and I mentioned that from 2019 to now, Tampa, for example, had a 60% property tax increase, and Miami had 48% property tax increase. That's a lot of money, So where is all this money going, and where is it being spent, and do they really need that much allocated into this funding?
But why increase the taxes? Because the value of the property increased. So the
Right, so they're getting
asset value
48%
increased.
more
Because
money
we
than
get-
they were 5 years ago.
After COVID, the value increased 3 times. So that's why the taxes increase, and it's everything related. What do you think, Bibi?
Well, we also have an international market. We have a lot of buyers that buy from outside. I work with a lot of primary investors, and sometimes, they're not looking to buy because these taxes, it's 1.5. It's very hard to find a property right now that's under $500,000, depending where you're buying. So I like what you said. I think we need to find a balance, right? Everything's fine about a balance, but we definitely have to do something. Something has to be done.
100%.
Because life is, if there's one thing that's constant is change, right? So I know we're used to the 1.5 or 1.75, but it's substantial with the prices that we have going. So something has to happen. Maybe it's not the perfect ideal, but it's something towards, change. We need things to change. We can't be doing the same thing over and over. So there's definitely something that has to be changed, and we do have to help the market because there's buyers, people that are making $90,000 a year. They just can't afford living here. What is happening to Florida too? Other areas are expanding, right? Lehigh Acres, Port St. Lucie has grown because people need to move out. Mm-hmm. Homestead has grown. I used to be the Homestead queen, right? I used to be the queen of the South. That's what I started selling. I remember 7 years ago when I was with D.R. Horton, I started saying, buy over here. I invested over there. It's kind of like Monopoly. You buy the smaller properties, and I've made, good. So we just have to adjust things as we grow and as we move and find our way. And, it's not always going to be the perfect fix for everybody. And there's always going to be, the peanut gallery making their comments. But I do think we need some change. And I do feel that our governor is a good governor. We've seen a lot of positive things from him. And maybe he's not perfect, but neither am I, or nobody is. But we are heading in the right direction. We need movement and we need more buyers, especially younger families that want to buy and to just feel that they're outpriced right now.
Yeah. Well, change will come. To piggyback off of what Maritza was saying, I just came back from GARD, Great American Realtor Day, at the state capitol, and that was one of the conversations we were having with one of the senators, a few senators actually, and they're in support of that. Increasing homestead exemption so that, homeowners could have some type of relief, because as we see what's going on with the economy, life is just getting expensive. So we are, like you're saying, going in the right direction. So they have been talking about that.
Yeah, it's definitely a topic that they're discussing.
100%.
Yeah, so since this is all about government affairs and what the governor could potentially do with some of our taxes and everything else, I think it's a good point to talk about what else was discussed at our Great American Realtor Days. Can you talk about some of the talking points that you talked to elected officials about, whether it was a state representative or a state senator?
So we met with both, and another big highlight was Hometown Heroes. They are in support of that, so that will be coming back out.
For the third time, right?
I believe so.
Third time.
I think,
Yeah.
The third time, nice.
Possibly. They didn't specify like the time where it will be released, but so now is the time, if you guys are working with those first time home buyers, to start preparing them to get pre-approved, start looking into properties. So once it is rolled out, those funds are available, they can submit their application as soon as possible, because as we know that the funds get depleted really quickly.
In 1 or 2 months.
2 months.
They
Yeah,
finish.
really.
I have 2 buyers, I think, to buy with that program. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so I think one is, I guess, just stay aware of when those funds might be added back to
And be
the
ready.
to the program. Yeah, and be ready
soon
with
as
your clients
possible.
on the sidelines, ready to apply
Yeah.
for those loans. I would hope as well that there will be more funds continue to added to the thing. So maybe it'll last a few months longer. But the moral of the story is we can't insist that there will be more funds this time around. There could actually be less. We don't know. So being ready, I think, is the big point there. So does anybody know where you can stay up to date on that information?
Probably the site. They didn't specify, but I believe the Hometown Heroes site.
There is
You
a
can just
website.
go on there
Hometown.
and just remain abreast with what's going on with that.
And most of the lenders know the program.
Yeah, all your local mortgage brokers, they'll keep you afloat on, as soon as that becomes available.
Cool. So I think the lesson here is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is okay, have that conversation with your mortgage brokers. If they don't have an answer today, they will have an answer soon. And if you maintain those conversations, then it sounds like to me you have a higher chance of your buyers actually taking advantage of the program. So for all of our listeners out there, please keep this in the back of your repertoire and be ready for when these funds come available, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about the market now. Has everybody talked enough about the business and not only the business tax that has gone down from 6% to 2%, but also the sales tax, or not the sales tax, the property tax. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else we want to touch about this topic before we talk about the overall market?
Like Bibi say, we need something. We need a change. We need or mortgage rates or property taxes or something to get this market moving again, because it's like in a flat level, and we see minimum movement again, but I think we need more from the government.
I see. Okay, interesting. So let's talk about this market versus last year's market. What changes are you guys seeing in this year's market? I know Darnell in a different podcast was talking about how he's starting to get multiple offers on some of his listings. Are you guys experiencing the same thing? What are the similarities between this year and last year? What are the differences?
You want to start?
So for me, and I do see a lot more sellers. They're coming out and they're deciding, okay, it's the time for me to sell. But from the buy standpoint, I'm seeing that they're really shopping around. So we did a statistics on our first quarter. I think we said that we have 50% more inventory than we did same time this year from last year, but our pending sales are like at 4%, which means they're taking a lot longer and really shopping around. I mean, given they have a lot more inventory to go through, they're being a lot pickier, and they're negotiating a lot. So sometimes that price point that they're listed at is not always what it's being sold at. And after inspection, they are nitpicking everything. I mean, I've had so many situations where after an inspection, the most cosmetic things that before you would have never even tried to negotiate, now they're really, really negotiating, cracking down. So buyers are really getting a good deal in the sense, I do see it now as a buyer's market. Obviously, it depends on, what city we're looking at, what price point we're looking at. But I would say we've shifted over to a buyer's market.
Real estate is hyper local, and yes, every market is different. I see buyer's market. I see many opportunities for buyers. I tell all my clients, buy now, wait to sell, because selling is taking longer, months and months, minimum, depends of the property. Single family home is better than a condo. A condo, now we have issues with condos that everybody knows, insurance going up, property taxes up, so that, and mortgage rates up, so that doesn't help to buyers and for sellers to sell. So 100%, I'm telling everybody, buy now and keep the property and rent the property. It's a long-term gain. Yeah.
I mean, I just think, personally, I'm a little bit of a disruptor in the business. I always work more of like, well, people don't want to work, right? I figured out in my career to work primarily when you construction, right? So when the market's kind of like doing what it's doing right now, all these new developers, they're doing buy downs. I mean, listen, Lennar, Pulte.
So many incentives.
Listen, they've got rates at 5%. So when people tell me I can't afford, well, what are you looking at, right? Let's talk about the listing side, right? You need to think outside the box. You need to price right, right? We're not in the market where there's biddings, right? So that's another issue. So when people tell me, I get calls from different people saying, oh, the market's going down, right? No, the market's not going down. Just people price some things they're not pricing things correctly. So they're stagnant in the market, right? Also, think outside the box. I tell the sellers, listen, this is a market where you need to help the buyer. How about thinking outside the box, offering a year of HOA? I like to work condos. I primarily work with new condos. That's how I know her. So, I always say condos is not a bad market. You just need to, a lot of people don't even know that veterans can buy 100% financing a condo. And they're not using that. So I tell agents, listen, take that pain and make it your motivation. Think outside the box. It's an opportunity to maybe do a different niche. It's maybe to take your career and focus on something else. So, I personally have not experienced a bad market myself or a bad year. I've always been blessed to think outside the box. And
because
that is
you evolve with the market.
I change. I'm a chameleon. You have to be that resilient agent that, if you have a listing, you're struggling, what can I do different? Can I go on TikTok? Can I go live? Can I, just do something different. It's asking you to do something different, help that seller. Yeah, I do get it. There's some buyers that are being more picky right now. There's investors that are on the sideline. The ones that are on the sidelines, they're losing out on deals because I'm still writing up deals. Yeah. So it's really, it's really a market. It's unique in its way. And if you push through it and you just have a view that's an aerial view. Don't look, oh my God, when I start hearing people talk like that, especially our colleagues, I'm like, oh my God.
It's what I say to my agents. What are you doing? Because if you are not helping the buyer, I just have a buyer that he wants only one building, one line, one unit, 2 bedroom. It's very specific. There is no unit like that in the market online. So what I do, call. And I found the seller, I'm representing the buyer and seller for 1 million, both commissions, because
you're thinking
do
outside the box.
something different.
Yeah. You were willing
Everything
to do.
is not online.
This is a thing now. This
for
is a
you.
time that you have to put the work in.
Right.
Yeah. You need to work
You need
with
to work.
sellers.
You need to make the
especially.
calls. You got a
Yes.
listing, you got to call up agents that are selling in that area.
Yeah.
You got to really work.
We are doing open house and calling the whole community. Oh, I'm inviting you to the
Right.
open house.
Yeah.
Please come to see the property. It's a great property, blah, blah, blah. We need to do something.
Yeah.
And this
it's-
is what some of like the newer agents weren't used to, right? So now they're like, oh, so
Yeah.
this is part of the process.
Like
you
I
know?
have to really.
I have to go and door knock and let the neighbors know that I'm selling their neighbor's house and that this is my contact. This is who I am. We're hosting an open house on this day and that day. Like, oh, I have to do those steps now.
Getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and so I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, it's something you have to go back to basics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very ironic. So if people that were entering the market, let's say somewhere between 2021 and the end of 2022, and now they're used to one thing, and now they're actually having to do a lot more of the work.
Was too easy.
And what's crazy is like now they're learning the real market.
The real market.
But the topic of this podcast is all about property taxes, right? So it could flip back to that style of market if affordability of these houses is more available to the everyday buyer. So keep the strategies that you learned in that crazy market in anywhere between 2020 and 2022. Keep that in the back of your mind. This is how the market works again, but if one little variable changes, it could go back to that crazy seller's market
Bidding
again.
wars and all the clauses that we write to get that offer accept. Yeah, was
Right.
different.
So yeah, let's talk about this a little more. We've already talked about it a little bit, but let's bring it home now. We've talked a little bit about how we should approach this year differently. Obviously, a lot of us have created business plans. Are you still sticking to your business plan? Has your business plan changed since the start of the year? Let's talk about what surprises the market has done and what you've done to navigate some of those surprises.
Okay, so yes, at the end of the year, last year, I see that the market was low, so I start implementing cold calling, and now is my must. Every listing that I have, I'm cold calling to get more listings. Every buyer that I have, if I don't find the properties online, we have a board in our office where all the buyers, what they are looking for, to do cold calling, finding properties for them. We need to look at what they need and work on that. So that is I'm changing, doing that. I'm doing more like working specifically for the buyer and for the seller, and finding what they want, because at the end we are working for them and try to help them to get the goal done.
So do you still find that you don't have the inventory you need for your buyers in this market? Because
The inventory is, everybody knows the inventory. You don't have opportunities in those inventories. Yeah, you can lower the price, but you have more opportunities in something that you don't see, that nobody see. I think you have more opportunities there. And buyers, investors want that. No, investor call me. Oh no, don't send me that. I have Google. I have Zillow. I can look at that. Investors want something special, off market property, exclusive for them. That's why what you say, sending exclusive properties to investors is a great move.
It's kind of crazy that you bring that up. I'm gonna add a completely different analogy to this and tell me if you think I'm crazy or not. But okay, and I don't practice this myself. This is just what I've related to. So like, let's say you have a crush on somebody that has a significant other. That's a 1v1 sort of thing, right? which for the stuff that you're looking for, that is a 1v1 sort of thing. It's you and the buyer. That's it. Mm-hmm. But let's say it's on the online somewhere. That is you versus all these other agents. So I think in some ways you're 100% correct. If you can find like those little niches to where you're the only one actively working them, I think you have a higher probability to actually close that later on.
The buyer that I just told you, he worked with me for life, because I found the property that he want off market. Nobody sees it. I see it with him the first time. You do something different. Yeah.
He had no competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right.
That's
the point.
I don't take listings.
You're a buyer's agent, right, Bibi?
Yeah, but like someone will ask me to list a house and I go, I don't want the listing. They're like, what do you mean? And I don't want the listing.
Send it to me.
I'll do it off market. And they're like, yeah, and do it off market. It's like you say, you have to be willing to really do things a little bit different, because that's what's really going to give you that edge. And there's a lot of people that like to follow what is done normally, but these situations that are happening right now, they make you grow. They make you see, what can I do different? And then it makes you think, like he said, you have to, like, I work very, very differently. Sometimes I put deals together, or, I'll fight with the developer. I've had the situations where they'll say, well, we don't want to do this. I'm like, well, you better start doing things with buyers here if you want to make some sales. And now they're struggling in certain sales developments because they didn't want to do the deal. Then they call me back, hey, call that buyer back. He already bought. Right. He bought somewhere else and was willing to do something different for him. So the opportunity right now really lies on us as professionals to really think, to really do things a little bit different. Maybe not that much, but maybe take an off market, right? Market that, and then contact a couple of investors. It'll move some inventory, right?
So let's go back to the new development stuff real quick and negotiating with them. Mm-hmm. I think everybody on this table and on this panel discussion right here has at least sold one new development, if not multiple, like many of you. Mm-hmm. What new approaches should you be taking with new developers that maybe you didn't do in the past?
I think that I've mentioned this before. New developers can also offer, like, certain agents that do multiple sales, like help them with their marketing, right? Why aren't they doing that? If that agent is specifically targeting their project, help that agent market that property to get more leads, things like that. I've also, when I brought a buyer, I've asked for, hey, can we give them, if it's, I primarily focus on new construction on condos. They're not maybe offering, they offer great commissions, right? They offer great commissions, but can they offer the buyer maybe the ability of, for instance, they ask for 40% deposit. If you're closing a building, right? If you're closing a building in 3 months, why wouldn't you take the 20% when the guy got an approval for a 20% loan? That's happened to me. I lost a deal like that.
It was my deal. My building.
No.
Right? Right? Okay, she's here. I'm not talking to talk.
So you lost a sale.
I didn't lose. They lost the sale.
They lost the sale.
They lost the sale. This guy was ready to buy. The sales director, right, didn't want to budge. They were closing in 3 months to give a 20% deposit. He didn't have that 40%, right, which at closing would have gotten that money back. So they have to be flexible. Mm-hmm. They have to be flexible if they want to make more sales. You can't stick, if and I get it. I know that they need it they didn't have, if you're closing in 3 months, and I get it, because I understand the part of the developer, they've got construction loans, they got to show their investors. I get it. But if you're closing and you're the sales director and you're making that call, you need to be able to help your agents. Like, she's an amazing agent.
You have to be able to advocate for the buyers.
This lady right here, she's
We know
amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
That's so nice.
Even when she's been sick, and I was working with, it's just right now, you really have to push the envelope. Developers need to be a little bit more flexible too. I'm a strong personality. Most of us are because we're negotiators. But you really have to negotiate with the developer, and don't be scared of it. Ask them, why wouldn't you take? So they lost a deal, but I closed them somewhere else.
And I think those are things that we couldn't do before from our buyer agent side. When you had a contract with a pre-construction or a developer, it was like, this is how it is.
And this is it.
There is no changing this. The contract is what it is. And if you don't like it, you don't buy it.
Right.
And now the tables turn.
Right.
Now you can negotiate some really good terms and some, some things that make sense for the buyer.
That's why it's
And
a
at the end of the
good
day, everyone's happy.
opportunity for buyers.
Yeah.
Yes, and you know what? The developer doesn't have an empty building, and the buyer gets in on whatever dream property they might want, and it's the opportunity that people need to kind of jump on.
Another thing that people are not capitalizing is property management.
Yeah.
Most of these investors that are buying, they're not seeing the return on their investment because the management is not there. They have an owner operator that just has a slew of properties. They're making their money, but is the investor getting the return? So I tell agents, hey, market the property different. We are a great city. We have Formula One. We've got the music festivals. We've got Art Basel. We have different times. We're no longer a seasonal a city. It's full season.
We have all the sports.
Yeah, we have all the sports. So, are we doing, I got my CAM license. Right now, I'm getting my state license.
Getting that too.
Yeah, because we always have to be growing. I've been in the business long, but I'm always growing. You always have to be. What are you doing for your career that you can add value to your buyers and sellers, right? How are you doing that? Digital marketing, super important. That's another thing. Are you creating, like, for instance, are you creating an Instagram page for that listing?
Yeah. And not just on Instagram, right? On all platforms.
On all platforms.
YouTube, Facebook,
Right. So,
TikTok, or X, whatever they're calling it
So
now.
those are the type of things that we have to be really, instead of focusing on what not going right, what can go right? What if, right? And, a lot of self-development. I always tell people, work on yourself, because we get a lot of the negativity, right? A lot of the stress. So work on yourself, more self-care. I always tell, that's what I do for myself. So I think in this market with developers, you need to, obviously offer them, hey, can you work with me on this situation? I say, no, that's fine. But someone else will. Whoever's not willing to do it, there will be a developer that will work with you.
Yep. So Madison, you popped in. Welcome to this podcast. So obviously, the new development question obviously piqued your interest for you to join. What did you want to add?
Well, I thought it was funny that Baby was talking about being flexible with deposits, because our sale fell through because in this one instance they weren't flexible. But I think it's important, like Maritza was saying, we didn't know in the past that you could negotiate those contracts. And when I first got onto my project, I was told that there really was no negotiation. And that's how I was trained. And then I found out months later that wasn't the case. And in terms of pricing or contract terms, I was told this is how it is in pre-construction, and it's the developer's way or the highway.
Yeah.
And it was my first project, so I didn't know better, and I lost deals because of it. Oh. And so, it's good to know. Well, that's one, but there were others.
I did.
And,
I had a conversation with her on the sidebar, and I knew because she was working hard, Yeah. So it's not fair to her. She's working. When you work a development, you are really working a lot of hours. And I can say she's amazing, but I just moved on. You could only do so much, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So okay, let's be a guidepost for everybody who's watching this. Where are we seeing the most wiggle room for new development negotiations?
That is a good question.
I don't know that there's a lot of wiggle room anywhere, but there's a little wiggle room in multiple places, right? Like, for instance, something that bothers me is when there's a unit that's for sale and somebody makes an offer that's hundreds of thousands of dollars below asking price, especially in a building that's about to deliver. Like, if this was a resale property, you wouldn't offer hundreds of thousands of dollars below asking price. So why do you think that that's going to fly here? It's not.
Right.
And a lot of the times the developer will just counter with something, just
Ridiculous
because the initial offer was ridiculous. So I think it's about offering appropriately or negotiating appropriately. not so much about wiggle room or how much to negotiate, but just making the right calls.
Right. So just do something that is
Realistic.
serious.
Right.
Realistic,
Right.
yeah.
Or working with the right agent too, right? Working with the right agent in development. Not all agents are created equal inside the development.
No,
Or
bad
sales
experience
directors.
with
It's
agents.
very important, like when you go to the new developments, is the agent really gonna go to bat for you, right? Or are they corporate and they're gonna stick with corporate rules,
Yeah.
right? Do you have that person inside that is willing to make it happen? I was when I was an inside agent, I had a lot of problems with corporate because I would really, really bend forward for first-time home buyers. And I was kind of like a very controversial person in the company. But listen, you have to be willing to bat up for your buyers, right? But also understand the side of the developer, something that makes sense. You have to offer things that make sense, right? And why they make sense. So development today, I would definitely talk about. I would definitely focus if you're going to do new construction. You want to get paid now. She's got great projects that are selling right now. Do those. You get paid now. Why money later? Get paid now. So look for projects that are new construction that are ready to close now.
So
or maybe ready to close in the
I have
next
a
6 months.
question.
Yes.
So buyers can negotiate with new developers, and agents can negotiate with the new developers.
What do you
In what sense?
Commissions,
Like compensation?
commissions, timing of paying the commission.
No.
No,
No?
not really.
Okay,
I mean, at least I haven't seen
haven't-
it if
no,
that's
I've never done
if
that
that's
either.
been done.
so it's more
No.
through the buyer.
Yeah,
Okay.
for the buyer. I
I
mean, it's
also
already
think that
6%.
developers need to give more incentive to agents because if you're selling new construction, I primarily work with developers that consider agents, right? We need to make money now. We can't be waiting. Some people maybe don't close. They
3
give their
years,
40%.
4
They
years.
default,
Yeah.
but then they don't give you that last part. I don't like that because you got your 40%. You're keeping that money. You should have paid me. I brought you that buyer, right? So I've worked primarily with developers that once they get their full deposit, they pay me my full commission. You have to be very, very, very wise on what developers you do work for new construction.
I completely
You
agree.
have to be very aware of who you're working because then that buyer is going to come back to you and say, "Oh, but you told me to buy here." You know how that is. But you have to be very, very picky and then dissect it.
You remember in COVID when Leonard J.R. Horton
Oh.
don't pay commission to us?
And you know what I told them? Because
and now
I do
they
know.
are paying commission.
Right. So
No,
you know
now,
what I told them?
now they don't stop calling you and say,
Uh-huh.
bring me
Right.
a buyer.
So I told them, don't worry, you'll call me back.
Yes.
And then I went somewhere else, right?
Yes.
Because we are an asset. You know, we're out there, we're the soldiers doing the work.
Yeah.
You know, and people just sometimes think that realtors it's just an easy job. It really isn't. It takes a lot of us. We're on call 24/7 like a doctor.
Yeah,
we
I
don't
do.
get paid until the end of the deal. So
And I do remember when they were not offering any
remember.
compensation,
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and I thought that was crazy. And,
Yeah.
and how long did that last for? Not
Oh,
very
no, no,
long.
not very
Like
long.
1 year,
two-
maybe.
1 year, 2
A
at
year.
most. Wild.
COVID.
But I
time.
said karma.
Yeah. Well,
Karma comes back.
I mean, that's the market, right? It's always ups and downs. So.
Yeah. But that wasn't very nice. And you don't do that to people.
And you
that-
remember that. As an agent, you remember that. So.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because buyers go directly to them. They don't use us
Mm-hmm.
because, it was crazy.
well, at least the market corrected itself, did it not?
It did.
Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Anything else we want to discuss before we wrap up this episode of the podcast?
Market crash.
What?
I don't think the person. Hey, we'll have a seat.
Come.
Come. She's so worried. She doesn't want to talk about it. We're not gonna mention that. There really isn't going to be much of of that. So I don't.
There's a lot of influencers that are saying that. A lot of people
Sure.
there saying that. Social
People thrive
media
on
is
negativity.
full of that.
So
Yeah.
That is what the clients see and
Here's-
send me screenshot. Oh, you see this? You see? That is a person
And it
like
goes back-
you
yeah.
that's talking what he think. It's not the real war. It's not.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what BB said, that like they're seeing price deduction. You wouldn't have seen a price deduction if it was priced right.
Correct.
That's true.
Right.
And if you look at the numbers, the statistics don't lie. If you look at the numbers year after year, quarter after quarter, month after month, the prices are still going up.
Yes.
Last year we had a 3%
100%.
increase. 3% is a good, steady, strong market. This year we're projecting the same. So you can stay in the sideline, but I hope you're getting paid 3% or plus more the following year because it's going to be 3%, 5% more expensive the following year.
Right, of house appreciation. We're not
Right,
talking
of house
commissions.
appreciation.
Yeah, thanks.
We're not talking commissions.
Sweat,
Yeah.
yeah, sweat
No,
off my
not
head.
what? No, not compensation.
Here's another really interesting thing that I wanted to bring up. It rang really true to me. Is there are some people that are doom and gloom forecasters for the housing market, and yes, they have a lot of followers. But if you also have a negative outlook that poorly towards the market, how many sales out of those followers do you really think you're going to get? Not many. So, okay, you can be doom and gloom all you want, but at the end of the day, you got to have some sort of market positivity for you to entice people to get off the sidelines and to actually purchase a home. Now, if it is a bad market, please explain all of the problems that may arise. But at the same time, I don't think it's beneficial to be negative.
I'm going to talk about that. I had a buyer that did not buy. This was 3 years ago.
Yes, bring this up. This is great.
Okay,
Yeah.
I did. There was this guy on YouTube that he has a huge following. I only have I don't know. I really haven't focused on the following thing because I've gotten a lot of business from YouTube, but I don't have a huge following. And don't misunderstand if you don't have a huge following that you don't get. I get business, but I took his podcast and I ripped them apart.
Oh my God.
And then I showed it, and I'm gonna tell you this, and you're not gonna buy today. But 3 years forward, I'm still gonna be in the business. I just talked to him 2 months ago. I said, remember that property you didn't buy? Let's look at the evaluation right now.
2 times.
Because you told me that this gentleman, that you didn't even know who it
gonna
was,
predict the market for
predicted the market. And you know what? That property's gone up about $80,000. He lost out because he listened. And it's in my YouTube channel. It's, if you scroll, you'll see it. Because I kind of I have the face him, the guy, because he got me so upset. He sent me all these, they text message you of the market. Well, I went ahead. It was just after, I just did a Zoom and I kind of recorded it and I answered it. And it's actually 3 years forward now. He didn't buy. He's still renting and he lost that opportunity.
And how much is his rent now? 3 years later.
Talk about that. So you know what? He stayed on the sidelines, and here he is today. He never purchased, right? So, there will be those that, they're just, it's fear. It really is fear.
It's what people don't understand.
People have a lot of fear.
Yeah, they don't understand that the market, maybe it's high now, but it's keeping going up.
It's
It's not
just like
stopping.
the stock market, right? It's always up and downward trends, but in an upward
You're never going to lose in
direction.
real estate, guys.
No, you don't
Never going to
lose.
lose in real estate. And if something's not in where it needs to be, you just hold on to it.
Don't
Real estate
sell.
is a long-term
Don't
investment at the end of the day. We've just been very spoiled in this market, honestly. But it's a long-term investment. You're never really going to lose out, right?
I tell my client, don't sell right now.
No.
Don't sell.
Yeah.
It's not time to sell. It's time,
It's time to buy. Yeah,
Yes.
100%. And you know what? There's a lot of different programs. There's a lot of different ways to buy. There's a lot of different ways to look at the business. If you're doing a 1031 exchange, shifting your assets, whatever you're
creative.
doing, get creative. As an agent, take other classes. Come to the board. There's a lot of different great teachers here. There's a lot of different things being offered. You just have to be willing to do the work.
Well said. Anything else, guys? Do the frickin' work, guys. It's that easy. So thank you for watching this podcast. If that last sentence didn't motivate you, you might be in the wrong industry. This industry is always changing, as we've highlighted. And whether it's changed to our sales tax, changed to other laws, you always have to be on your toes and ready to anticipate those market shifts. And the people here in this room right now, they're ready. So if you're not ready, please get on your game. And if you need any information from us, YPN always has classes. And you also have the entire Miami Realtors Association at your disposal as well to keep up with the changing times. So with that, go out there, educate yourself, learn about the potential changes, and be ready to portray that message with your buyers and sellers. It can mean all the difference for your career and for your referral implications as well. So with that, thank you everybody for watching today, and we'll see you on the next episode coming up soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm going to be on my laptop.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I have a full purse. I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm eating before I leave.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm sneaking out for shopping.
We're YPN leaders.
Of course we're going to be creating content.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm signing up for classes.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm Cafecito obsessed.
I'm a YPN leader. Of course I'm gonna crash the next happy hour.
Yeah, I'm a